Welcome to This is Fitness. We're back after a period off after the loss of our brother, best friend, iron brother, and genuine source of laughter, let's say. I'm here with my other brother again, Mick Galley. How you going, my friend?
Yeah, mate. It's been a tough period for a lot of us. I can still see the pain in your eyes, mate, which hurts me too, because you guys were tight, like very tight. So we've spoken about what we're going to do here for a while.
Mm.
Obviously, you and Jimmy had This is Fitness podcast going for a while. Jimmy reached out to me, I think it was the last 5 episodes, to join you guys, which was unreal to be with you guys again.
Yeah.
But again, mate, yeah, it's been a hard
Mm.
time for so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it doesn't go away, and not that I want it to go away. It's just one of those things that I think that if I look back over life for the last sort of 10 to 15 years, he has been in it pretty much the whole way. So and I'm grateful for that. There's not a memory or a photo that doesn't come up that he's not in the background somewhere. But you know, there we go.
I don't think any of us are going to get over it, especially you, mate. We've spent a lot of I guess if you can say anything that's good has come out of this is a lot of us has bonded together again, very tight. It's unfortunate Gretch can't be with us today. He got stuck in meetings again.
Yep.
Obviously you and I brought us closer again. We've spent a lot of time together since it happened, a lot of reflecting, a lot of being there for each other, which I now know will continue into the future, no matter what. It's a hard one, mate. I don't think it's ever going to go. Like I said, my cardio I do in the mornings, that is still my time. Remember I told you, Chris, that is still my time just to reflect on certain things. So, yeah.
I think the biggest thing, mate, we can look at all the positives that come out of something like this, which is a really weird way to describe it. But I mean, we've talked about ourselves. I know me and you, we've talked about communication. We've talked about just not taking communication for granted, you know what I mean? And things like that. I think us driving down was another big thing for us. I think that's something that you suggested, and I'm actually totally grateful. It allowed us just to sort of get ourselves into some sort of shape, let's say, mentally. But also gave us time for some perspective as well. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for that. That was your idea. So thank you.
Yeah, I honestly, looking back on it now, I think it's the best thing we could have done for each other.
Yeah.
The drive it didn't even seem long. I think you and I said this to Case when I got home, I said, Chris and I didn't stop talking from the minute we got in the car to the minute we got there and the same way back. And there was a lot of reflecting. We've all got a lot of history, like a long, long time of knowing each other, mate, all of us.
Yeah.
And it was a tough time down there for everyone.
Yep.
And so it was good to come back like that. I think if we'd come back separate or we'd come back the way, we were planning it to fly, I just think it would have been probably not a good experience to be around a lot of people in an airport at the time. It's hard to explain, isn't it? I guess a lot of people have gone through things like this, similar, losing like a very close friend, but it's still hard to put into words.
I think, we've all been through loss, and the unfortunate thing is that the older we get, it becomes more and more part of our life. And, I think the huge losses that I've had is they were seen and they were known, so they were a matter of time. So I think a lot of the time there was a grieving process going along with that period of time up until the time it happened, because we just knew. But with these sorts of things here, it's just to wake up in the morning on a Saturday morning and have a missed call at like 6 a.m. I knew, and then I intentionally ignored it because I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew it wouldn't be good. And then when I got myself in shape to handle whatever was going to come, I was about to call Gretchy back, and then you rang me. I saw your phone call coming up, and I went, okay, well, this is definitely not good. And, you know, I know that you dreaded being the one that told me, but there couldn't have been a more perfect person to have told me than yourself. So
that was a tough morning, mate. That was,
yeah.
I was like you. I knew, I saw Gretchy's missed call. I knew the same. And then when I called you, I presumed that you would have. So yeah, that was tough.
Yes. So,
But
Hmm.
let me ask you. Let's try and because if we keep going like this, I'm
I'm going to start crying in a second. So we need to.
I want to know, Chris, like, and I kind of do know, but maybe for anyone listening, the backstory, like, I want to know how you and Jimmy met, because you guys carried a friendship that was solid from the time you met until the time he passed. And I know that because Jimmy would tell me all the time how solid you guys were.
Yeah. I'd always heard of the myth, let's just say, because his personality and reputation preceded him. Let's be fair; it didn't matter what back in the athlete days. I don't know who the fuck's this bloke that can't spell athlete right, and and then there was a number of things. It was when you got to know the guy, it was a piss take, and then he also had that little lisp as well. So kind of the whole thing kind of fit, didn't it? Really, it was so perfect. He had a knack of coming up with names and situations and scenarios that were so appropriate, but it was I'm gonna say it was 212. It would have been, it was FedEx, and it was 211 or 2, I think it was 212. I was gonna say, yeah. Other than that, there'd been a bit of communication on social media, but nothing else. And then I was actually at FedEx, and I was actually walking around with Laura Keddy, of all people, believe it or not, and because she was competing. And this guy came around the corner, and all I saw was this set of shoulders, and looked like a set of curtains hanging on a set of shoulders. And I just said, who the fuck's that? And she goes, Jimmy Sadek. And I said, I said, introduce me. I said, I know him. I need to talk to this bloke. And then he comes over and he's just staring at me. And he goes, I'm Jimmy. And I said, thanks. He goes, you're that alpha guy. That's how it started. And we had a bit of a conversation, and you could just see the look in his eyes, and it was just like he was all smiley and stuff, and it was quite funny and lighthearted. And I said, well, listen, we got an apartment down at Dockside, because we're in Melbourne, obviously. I said, we got an apartment down at Dockside. We're having festivities this evening, and I said, you're going to come. And he goes, yep, I'll be there. And I said, well, remember, this is test number one. And he's like, going to be going, what do you mean? I said, if you tell me you're coming and you don't come, I said, I consider that a lie. And that's not the way that we're going to start a friendship, right? He goes, no, I'm going to be there. I said, you give me your word, don't you? He goes, yeah. So yeah, that was it. And then he did come, true to his word. And we partied, true to our words. And then, I don't know, it must have been early hours, must have been about maybe 1 a.m. It was after midnight. And he goes, listen, I'm going to be back. And I looked at him, I said, test number 2. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, if you're telling me you're going to come back, you have to come back. If you're going to tell me you're going to come back and you're not coming back, I would consider that a lie. And he's looking at me. I said, he's just shaking his head. I said, listen, I'd rather you say you're not coming back and you're just going home. But don't tell me you're coming back and then don't come back. I said, it's a big difference. Yeah. He goes, no, I'll be back. Sure enough, he was back. Some stupid hour, maybe 3 or so in the morning. Yep. Mate, the rest is that's the first time I spent time with Jimmy. Yeah. So how about you? I think you knew him before me.
Yeah, we knew of each other, same as you. So this is going back when I don't think Instagram had started. It would have been, so it was 2009. So Facebook, but he was with BSC at the time as an athlete, still doing the athlete then.
Right.
And I was working for ASN. I think I was at Mermaid Beach. And Simon Reese, who owned ASN, wanted to get Jimmy, because at that stage, and for years after too, Jimmy was like the man on Facebook, Yeah. He was pumping BSC. He was getting good sales for him. So, and I'm like, we weren't following each other. And I'm like, I'm not following him. Simon, like, he's just out of control, like, Simon goes, I need you to follow him. I'm like, nah. And this would have went, I don't know. And then finally I got a follow from Jimmy. And that was the only time I've ever got cloud over Jimmy saying, you followed me, mate.
Yeah.
And we followed each other. And I think we sent a simple message.
Mm.
And then he came up, I think it was for the ASN Christmas party that year, 2009. And that's when we all met. And again, and same deal. And we just hit it off. So we're basically both of us, you and I both met at some sort of,
Yeah.
the FedEx Up party and then the ASN Christmas party.
Mm.
And then it just went from there, mate. It just, we all intertwined over the years as well. Obviously we'd met, probably around just after that point as well, maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah. And then things just went from there. We, same as you, we've all shared overseas holidays, Thailand, the US. He used to come up. One of my favorite memories. So there was a unit we had, in surface, it had a massive balcony. It was up the top, perfect for sunbathing. So his thing was just to fly up randomly every couple of weeks, just randomly come up. And I'm like, what are you doing up? And he goes, I'm just come up if I could just sunbake on the balcony. That's what he loved to do. Just come up and sunbake, and I've got so many photos of him sprawled out on the balcony.
I've actually seen some of those,
Yeah. Because at that time too, he was going to your mass facility down in Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He used to because he says to me, he messages me, right? And he goes, listen, I want you to coach me. And I said, and this would have been maybe, it would have been probably maybe early 14, maybe late 13. It was after I won the Aussies. I remember that. And he goes, I want you to coach me. And I said, cool. Yeah, that's right. Because WBFF back then was first brought out by Matt Curry at the time, remember? And he wanted to do the show, right? Because they had bodybuilding category back then. Right. Okay. So that's the backstory, because Jimmy's no WBFF, but there was a bodybuilding category before they scrapped it. And he used to fly in he used to fly from Sydney to the Gold Coast every Friday, right? Just to check in and get skin folds. And then he would just stay the night and leave. And the thing that used to fucking piss me off about him every time, right? In the end, I had to put my foot down, right? He would book some stupid flight in the morning, like 6 a.m. And then go, listen to me. He goes, listen, I got to be at the airport at like 5. I'm going, good. And he's going, you driving me? I'm going, are you fucking serious? And in the end, I had to say to him, listen, if I want to drive to the airport, because I can't just let a mate just get in there was no Uber then either. I said, can't let your mate get in the car. I said, but I'm not getting up at fucking 5 on a Saturday morning to drop you at the airport, man. I said, people don't fly at those hours. Because he was a master of those like $90 return airfares. He used to sit there. No one could find a cheaper flight than this guy. Trust me. He just didn't take him on with games like that. So then sometimes he'd stay and and you'd see him and
He did love his trips up here. Even, I mean, but he brought the newbie on as well. He'd come up here a lot because he'd go to, a few gyms, World Gyms, so Ashmore, Sam's gym. He'd get a lot of the boys using that too. And he'd make that as a trip for a bit. He'd see all of us, see all the crew. We'd normally go for sushi. He'd eat $300 worth of sushi because that's what he does. The appetite on that boy was unbelievable. But man, the loyalty he had for you, for all of us. And I think we joked about this on maybe the trip down, and we just go, there could be an argument that we really shouldn't have been like, we're not right all the time.
No.
But the times we were wrong, and Jim would still act like we were right and go harder than what we were in an argument. He'd just back you no matter what, even though whatever. And you'd be like, Jimmy, I think I might be in the wrong here. He goes, I don't get it. So
yeah. That story is actually almost word for word an incident that I had, and it typifies him completely. So we can sit there and talk about the larrikin side and all that sort of stuff, and that is such an amazing part of him. But the loyalty was the other part of him that superseded everything. This guy, he just knew he wouldn't turn his back on you. Like no matter what, and I actually literally I can't remember exactly what the incident was over, but it was something that went onto social media, man. I had a bit of a thing going on, and some posts were going back and forward, and some of them weren't too good about me. And I wasn't my calm self that I am nowadays back then, right? So I wasn't handling it too well. So he just rings me up and says, "What's going on with this shit?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, man, this and this." He goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "By tonight," he goes, "we will take the internet back over." He said to me, word for word. So then he's on there all day posting, right, nonstop business stuff for me, right? And he was just pumping all day long. And then he gets to the end of the day, rings me back up. He goes, "See, I told you, it only took a day." He goes, "Internet taken back over. It's ours again now." And I'm just looking at him going, "You know what? That's amazing." I said, "Thank you." And he's like, "Yeah, no worries." He goes, "Listen, you fucked up, by the way." I'm going, "Yeah, I know." And that was it. And I said, "Well, why'd you do that for?" He goes, "As if I'm going to fucking leave you fucking hanging." So that what you said is 100%. I think we've all been in that situation. We've all been in that scenario where we, weren't exactly right. But this dude would just, yeah, he'd go down with the ship, man. He'd tell you afterwards, though, in no short terms, he'd tell you, "Listen, you screwed up, by the way."
And I think it was his ability. And there was a lot of people message me after his passing, just saying, "Hey, I didn't know Jimmy, but he'd reached out to me to see how I was or my competing." So, and that's how he was too. He didn't have to know you, but if he saw that you were competing, he'd reach out and say, "Hey, looking unreal," or, "Congrats on your comp," and stuff like that. Like literally just so many people had that reaction from him.
Yeah. Mate, the backstage will never be the same again. I mean, Gretchen runs probably one of the best shows around. There's no ifs or buts, right? But mate, that fixture of him with the clipboard backstage, making everyone look fucking small. I mean, the dude never fit in the doorway, right? And he would just run the thing. The way he handled the fucking board short categories, the way he handled everyone, man. He handled them with a comical piss take with everyone, but he always did it in a way that was never taken offensively. He had this ability to um, deliver, yeah, in the right way.
Yeah.
You say.
I don't think anyone's done backstage like Jimmy has, and yeah, it would have been nice to have done a comp with him being backstage,
Yeah. Yeah.
telling you what to do and just being there. But I've only ever been to Gretchy's comp once or twice, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you think of Gretchy's show, you think of Jimmy also, and you think of what a bloody excellent job he's done backstage.
And I have done that. I've gone to look the last two times I've missed it, to both because I just couldn't get my dogs looked after. Simple as that. Otherwise, I've gone every time, and it's you look forward to that. You have that meal together the night before. All of us, it's always like a table of 10 or 12 people. You know what I mean? And you get up the next morning, then Jimmy picking you up, to go to the show, and he's running late.
I missed a lot of those things, Chris, and it just hindsight's always a great thing because you never know. But
yeah,
I wish I'd gone down there more often. It's the same. Yeah, you can say the same thing about so many things. You guys, I know, Chris, you ran a Thailand camp for a while, very successful one, and I know Jimmy accompanied you on a few of those trips. I'd love to hear one of your funny stories about, because I know there's quite a few. Some you probably can't tell, but
yeah.
love to hear one of your funniest stories of Jimmy accompanying you in Thailand, whether it be for the day or we had to go back, or just.
Well, there's so many stories about Thailand with Jimmy, and there's so many things that have become famous now as well. It's it's the way he interpreted the cheat meal was something special. He goes, like, "What do I do for this?" I said, "Well, you know what, combine these last couple of meals, and have a meal off plan." And he's going to me, "All right, yeah, 2 meals, and I'll combine them. Yep, no worries." And then next thing he's sending you photos of him with a couple of liter bucket of ice cream with a hole bored in the middle of it, and he was allergic to nuts. Most people didn't know that as well. So he used to use this special caramel. He didn't use chocolate, obviously, for that reason. And he basically bored the hole in the ice cream. And then he poured a whole tub of Hershey's into the hole in the middle of his ice cream. And he proceeded to sit in the side of the pool with my hat on. And I didn't know how I felt about it because it was iconic. The photo still is. Anyone can find it. They go see it.
His photo's brilliant.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at it going, he's got my hat on. Does that like kind of condone the tub of ice cream with the half a liter of Hershey's in there, or what does it do? As much as he loved Thailand, he was hopeless on a scooter.
Yeah.
Hopeless,
Yep.
like literally useless, you know? And yeah, he tried to go up a driveway. And then seemed to forget that, you know, with forward momentum, you actually have balance when you're sitting upright on a bike. So he got to the top and decided to throttle completely off, right? And then didn't realize that the bike would just go sideways. So it basically landed on him, and it screwed his ankle up. And I think also the exhaust rested across his calf as well and burnt the skin. So, you know, I suppose probably the one story that I at the time I didn't hold that dear, but I cherish now is we did that second camp, and it was a monster camp. You know, it actually got out of hand, and there were so many people that wanted to come that I just didn't know. I knew I couldn't coach them properly with that amount, right? But there were people just like, just let me come, just let me come, just let me come. And I'm just like, righto. So we ended up going with 20 people, Mick, right? And Jimmy was like an instigator as well, obviously. He was rustling the whole thing up. And Jimmy's like, he says, are we getting there early? I said, dude, I'm always there a week early. He goes, well, I'm coming a week early. So he was there a week early. So we had all that week leading up to, you know what I mean? And got everything ready. And then he comes up to me and goes, listen, I've got to go home. And I goes, excuse me? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, no, I got to go home. I said, and he told me some story. And I said, just don't tell me a story. Just tell me the fucking truth. And then what happened was he was, he had not long started to date Verity. Like, I think it was very, very early stages. And he'd been on the phone and talking to one of her friends. And I think he'd organized her friend to organize a dinner for them to go to dinner, except the friend wasn't going to go to dinner. And Jimmy was flying back from Thailand to surprise her at dinner. So I wasn't really impressed at the time because he only been in the camp. He actually didn't even get to the camp. He actually went in that 5-day period beforehand. He left before the camp started.
Yeah.
So, but look, mate, in hindsight, that turned out to be a godsend. She did. Verity did. Not she, Verity. And, you know, I'm glad now that he left the camp and that happened. But I think you've got some stories about Jimmy leaving or stuff early as well. Or what about you? And you got some Thailand stories too, I'm sure. I mean, you Jimmy at the same time.
Yeah, I know Jimmy left on one of the trips he came. That's when I was living in Koh Samui, so he did leave early. But the first trip we ever did was just after we'd met. I think we did a big trip with the group at the time. It was all the ASN crew and that as well, Simon and Kerry. But we decided before we went, the theme had to be pink shorts,
right,
white top, and headbands that said amazing. I don't know where that come from. Everyone of us did it except for Simon, because I'm not wearing pink shorts, but all right. So there is a lot of, and you know what? I forget these things because it wasn't until he passed and I just went through all photos. And I remember bringing this trip up and I was like, wow, fuck, that's. And that was a good trip, except it went like this because I kept the training part. We're all level. And then I went this direction of just partying. And then Jimmy and Simon went that direction of just training. So it was two separate holidays at that stage. But I
would have done it your way.
Yeah, my way's I quite enjoyed my way actually. Yeah, it was fun. But actually, this is a good one. I think it was the second last night I was there, and I parked the moped somewhere. I was buying drugs, so I don't really remember. I was with a friend of mine. Didn't remember. Parked the moped. It was either it might have been a day or two before. And then obviously to get your passport back at this stage, you had to hand your passport in when you hire a moped.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the moped for the life of me, which means I'm not going to get this passport back. And I was back in the hotel. I'm like, Jimmy, I've got to go home. It was either that night or the next day. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Jimmy came out and looked we're not talking an hour or two. It was hours, 5, 6, 7 hours looking for this moped. And we finally found it as it was getting dark. And there's a photo of Jimmy. Well, I just gave my phone to some random person, said, please just take a photo. And it's Jimmy and I pointing at the number plate of this moped, and I could not. So he stayed with me, sacrificed that part of his trip, helped me find that moped. No matter. And I was honest. I said, Jimmy, I have no clue where it could be. Like, no. And we just went everywhere looking. We had a kind of idea of a 10-block radius. But you fit in a 10-block radius, that's about 2 million mopeds. So
there it is, yeah.
Yeah, but he stuck there to the end, Chris. He stuck there to the end. We found it. Once we found it, then he went off and met the other guys and kept hanging out with them. And off I went to do what I had to do. So yeah.
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, mate. We did a actually just before we went home on that one camp, there's a photo of me, him, and I think it's McKinnon. We tried to pile everyone to a moped. There's a 3 of us on there. And I'm just sitting there going, fuck, man, that's well over 300 kilos on top of this moped. And then we just piled them to the back of it. But he never could ride them that well, as much as
you're right, eh? Yeah. It just was something about, I don't know thank God he never actually bought a motorbike back here in Australia.
No, I think he knew. He was smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
There was just a bunch of people that didn't seem to they didn't get the moped thing. They didn't transition into it very comfortably.
No,
No.
no.
I just remember myself and you like cruising around. We just used to, we didn't even have a game plan half the time. We just go, so what are you doing today? Well, we should just go to the beach for a bit and then let's just go and find something.
Yeah.
And we were always really comfortable on it, but man, there were that pink shirt, pink short thing. I still remember a photo out the front of I think it was maybe PPN or something or other. And I remember there's a photo of you guys out the front of it, and I remember seeing some weird coloured shorts or. Yeah.
I think it's the only time I've ever worn pink shorts, to be honest. Yeah. Jimmy continued that trend up for quite some time, and then obviously Campbell was the big pink.
He took over too
as well, so it did carry on a fair bit. But I think Jimmy did keep the Larry colours, didn't he? Remember the bright lime? He had those shorts for a while.
Yeah,
red, orange. But the thing with Jimmy is he had these humongous bloody calves. Yeah. It didn't matter what he wore; people were looking at the calves.
Right. I was always fascinated by that. I just used to look at them and go, like, I understood it. People talk about genetics, and a lot of it is genetics. The shape of them are genetics and how quickly they can grow and things like that. But I just thought about it in the end. I thought, you know what? If you've got to walk around with 130 kilos on top of you, then you're going to have some decent calves, provided you're the way you walk. If you've got plenty, if you're walking correctly. So, and then you followed that pink stuff into that Charles Lothian shoot as well. Remember?
That's right. Yes, yeah, it did. Yeah, that really awesome picture at the satellites, isn't it? The black and white one, but they show the colours of the shorts. Yeah. They brighten that part up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. He did a lot of shoot. That was it. Yeah, he did a lot of shoots with Charles, didn't he? You both did actually.
We did, yeah. We did. We did a couple actually. And then that one morning, that was the one thing that I'm grateful for so many things that me and him did and had. But I'm grateful for the fact that we competed together. And we did that in 2014. And it was the usual stuff. It was like, I just stay at my house. So coming down to his house. And at the time, he had that 1-bedroom place at Homebush or whatever it was. Everyone's been there, right? So I'm just down there. And we were competing. And that's where a lot of those photos came from. Back then, you used to tan each other, man, pretty much. Tanning was something that you got right and was important. But you kind of like, I don't know, man. So we would sit there and take turns. We'd put the gloves on, and then fucking I'd be tanning him, and then he'd be tanning me, and then he'd go, "We'll do another coat this afternoon." We do that sort of stuff, and then. Oh, Charles is coming to stay. I'm going, what do you mean coming to stay? Where's he fucking staying? And he's like, on the couch. I said, dude, there's only one couch. And like, that's where I'm staying. He goes, yeah, but both of you will fit on there. Right. So Charles rocks up with all these apparatus and fucking cables and shit. And I'd get up in the middle of the night trying to do a piss and trip over shit. And Charles goes, Chris, the equipment.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I don't know, man. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that we did that show together. And he thought it was that was what I was getting to. He thought it was a great idea. We had a shoot book with Daniel Rapetti, and we had a shoot book with Charles. And he goes, let's just do them together back to back and just do them all at once and just get in there. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's a good idea, man. Like, these shoots are pretty hard, eh? Like, you actually got to lift shit and you're dehydrated and tired. And, most of the time, as per our tradition, there wasn't a lot of sleep that happened the night of the show.
Yeah.
So his idea was as many Krispy Kreme donuts as possible while we were doing the shoot. So,
Yeah.
Did you do any shows with him, Mick, together?
No, but I did that house.
Yeah, right.
I think it was the 212 IFBB show he was doing. And at that stage, I was PT. So he rings me up and he goes, Mick, I need you to come down and spend the last 2 weeks with me to keep me on track. And I'm like, fuck. I said, dude, that's a long time to, not have money coming in.
Yeah.
And he goes, please, it'd mean the world to me. All right, done.
Yeah.
So I came down, same place, that 1-bedroom unit. All good. I'm on the couch. I didn't mind that. That was okay. And the next day, this person will remain nameless, but he goes, oh, by the way, such and such is coming to stay as well. And I'm like,
I actually know who that is, yes.
Yeah, it's a 1-bedroom apartment. And this guy was huge. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. I said, where are they going to sleep? Oh, you guys will find room. So they were competing as well. So this went on for 2 weeks. And that was at a period where I think Gretchen was coaching Jimmy.
Yeah.
And Gretchen would be texting me each day going, how's things going? And I'm like, no, not good. This is not good.
Yeah.
And so I just went with walks from the morning. We trained together. Jimmy didn't say much for the 2 weeks. He was yeah.
Was that the infamous massive weight drop show?
Yes, that was the massive, which I saw daily. And I'm sitting there scratching my head going, what's going on here?
Something not right here.
Something's not right here. He's not telling us something.
Yeah. And
he did admit to everything after the comp, and we all just went, Jimmy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Let me also just say, while we're talking about Homebush, just remember this. There is only one toilet in that apartment too.
There is. Yes, there is. There's one shower too. One shower, one toilet, and there was 3 reasonably, one big guy, and then 2 other. Jimmy was shrinking at that stage. So I'll say 2 reasonably bigger guys at that stage.
He always knew where to eat though, man. And the thing is, even though it was his show, right? Even though he was competing, he'd always ask you what you wanted to eat, right? And he knew that I really liked these ricotta pancakes. So the whole dinner, we had to do dinner, but the whole thing revolved around getting me to this place down in Brighton, Les Sands, right? To eat these ricotta pancakes that they did with this whipped butter. It was just unselfish, man, like that. It was just like, nah, Tag wants fucking these ricotta pancakes. We're getting ricotta pancakes. I'm just like, righto. That area in Brighton, Les Sands, we used to stay on remember, when you won the Australians that year, did you stay in that apartment too? Not in the same one as us, but in that little complex there? Or not?
Was it? I think so.
It was right on the beach. On the water, on the main road there.
I think 2016 I did, yes. Because you guys were about a few hundred meters down the road, yeah?
Were we not in the same? Well, I thought, because where we were, there was I think it was about 4 apartments.
No, I did stay with you once.
Yes.
In those lot of apartments. And then I think another time I was at the Brighton Les Sands, because I used to stay at that hotel all over the years when the comps were there. And then there was another year, I think I stayed because that was when I was living up north. I came down and stayed there by myself, but I walked down to your apartment where it
Yes.
was you and Jimmy, I think, at that stage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a few others in there. Um,
Yeah. Well, there's always a few others. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He used to always get a massive apartment and just like try and have as many people stay as possible.
yeah, they were good times there, mate. Remember there was big crews coming down together. Yeah,
And then Hurricanes was just up the road on the main drag too, remember?
exactly. I think we got quite a few photos of. Oh, geez, if we really went through our pictures, there'd be probably a lot. There's a lot of eating pictures.
Mm.
A lot of group.
Did you train? Did you get to train a lot with him? Like at times, like did you do many sessions with him?
I did at the start when we first met. We trained a lot together. I think back then, that was back when I wouldn't say I was always trained hard, but I didn't have any issues with body. So I was still reasonably strong because you know how strong Jimmy is. So it's hard to keep up.
Right.
But we did train a lot when we first met, and I was heavily into competing for those next 3 or 4 years. So there was a lot of times he'd come up or I'd go down there. But even if we were overseas, we'd train a lot in Thailand together in those initial, few visits. But as the years went on, very rarely, mainly because his strength was just through the roof, and it just didn't make sense for me to train with him at that time. So we'd go to the gym together, but he'd do his thing. He might be training with someone else. It could have been you, it could have been Sam, someone else like that, and I'd just do my own thing then. But
but he was too strong for me too, Mick. I was relatively strong at the time, and younger, obviously, and relatively injury free. But I remember one day we were doing some triceps, and he goes, "What are you going to do first?" I said, "Well, we need to do some close grip bench. We need to do something big to start with, and then we'll work our way backwards from that, And I used to pride myself. I was fairly strong at that movement, I was sort of able to, with proper form, I was able to close grip tricep bench, around 140 Ks, which was reasonable. And especially considering I'm not the biggest guy. I just remember the guy unracking it with this close grip and just doing this to it.
Yeah.
And then just throwing it back in there. It was like the way that you would manhandle a plate aside on your warm-up set. And I'm just like, all right, I'm totally demoralized. That's my work set. And he just fucked around with it pretty much. But the one thing, sorry, go, Mick.
Sorry, I was just going to add that his strength was just insane, like crazy strength.
When you saw the size of his wrists and that, though, then you sort of understood that the guy was meant to push a lot of weight because, I think when he was trying to be strong, like in the end, in the latter part, he was not training that way anymore, which was good, I think. But I think at one point he tried to dumbbell press 90 kilos. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was 80 or 90. It was something stupid, And I just said to him, I said, dude, your wrists are the only reason you can hold that weight. Like if I actually tried to lift those, my wrist would break, you know? Yeah. But we had this funny thing. We used to train every Friday in the training facility, right? And because it was a private gym, we also had the ability just to lock the front door and just not let anyone in. So we used to just line up. And I remember this one day we were doing those giant sets that Milos was doing at the time. We lined up these 10 movements in a row, and you had to just go through and do all 10, right? And then your rest period was however long it took the other bloke to do the 10. You do it 3 times. Your session would last about 45 minutes. You're screwed. And then he came up with this thing, and he goes to me, "You're not training hard enough." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I can't go any harder." He goes, "Nah, bullshit." He goes, "When you're training properly," he goes, "your skin goes purple."
Oh, Jesus.
He goes, "You ever seen this guy train hard? His chest goes purple." And I'm looking at him going, "What?" But yeah, so mate, that was an amazing period of life while I was at the Gold Coast, and that was one of the great things that came out of the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I
think
you spent some time there with me for some. It wasn't that long, but I think you might have spent a week or 2 or something like that. Didn't you?
Yeah. I was down there. I think you'd kind of let me stay there for a little bit when I was just in between getting units and stuff like that, which was great. So, but yeah, we've got some great memories over the years, and memories that you and I are going to talk about for the rest of our lives. Some funny memories and a few sad ones and that as well. And
it's just, and then they're not also the ones that we can't really talk about. and bless him.
Mm.
He just, I just think the delivery, man. There's a video that I have here that I just cannot share, obviously. But if you look at it, it's just the way that the guy just commanded the room in not in a narcissistic sense. He didn't do it for the attention. It was just like he had this ability to deliver. His timing of his delivery was impeccable.
Mm.
And it was the way it was delivered that was always really funny. He would just walk in and just like, and then you just start laughing because he would say it with a straight face, and it seemed like it was a piss take, but he was serious.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know what else I love? He always asked, if you called me, the first thing we'd say was, how's work going?
Yeah.
Then he'd go, how's Case doing? He actually never met Casey.
Yeah.
She'd been on the phone and, stuff like that. He could hear her, but he asked how she was.
Yeah.
Then he'd ask something else, So there was always that, how's this going? How's that going? And then we talk. So he was always interested in what was going on in our lives. And I know he did that with you, and I know he did it with everyone else he was close with too, so.
I mean, he used to follow and post on my brother's barbershop stuff all the time, right? And he'd never met Con, right? But he just knew he was my brother, and he knew, so it was just like the support that this guy gave. It seemed like there was no boundary to it.
Yeah. Do you know what I love? The funeral, the amount of people that went there to pay respect. And this is why they all went there, is because of what Jimmy was always asking about then, asking about other people, always messaging other people. So the turnout was amazing. That send-off is just what he needed. And to see the amount of people there to show that respect, that says a lot about Jimmy as a man.
Yeah. I think that to use the term larger than life, and especially when he was that big, but no matter how big he was larger than life. That's the thing. And the one thing Gretchen kept saying as well was how he had this ability to bring people together. And that was the biggest thing, is that I'm sure our friendships would have occurred, and I'm sure, because true, real people find each other. But, he is a real common denominator in all of this right the way through. And, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that stuff. And it's one of those things that the lessons learned here is don't take shit for granted. Don't put that phone call off till tomorrow. Say what you need to say, even if it's hard to say. When he did that last show in Melbourne, he said to me, he goes, "You coming down?" I said, "Oh, no, fuck that." He goes, I said, I said, "The show's on the same week as the grand final. It's just it's a mess. The airfares are so stupid." And it wasn't about not being able to afford it. It was about justifying. I mean, $1,200 return for a flight to Melbourne. I mean, come on, and all this sort of things. And I just really just didn't want to go, Mick, And he turns around to me and goes, "Well, listen," he goes, you got a credit from the last flights that you cancelled." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Well, how much is that credit?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, it's about $500. He goes, "Well, you give me that 500. He goes, "and I'll take care of the rest and the accommodation." And I looked at him, I said, No. It's not about that. I said, "Look, if it means that much," he goes, "I just want you there." And I said, "Well, if you want me there, then I'm absolutely there, no matter what the fucking price. That's all you had to say." He goes, "Well, I want you there." I said, "All right, well, that's it." He still paid for it though. Like, next thing you know, I was sitting there, an email popped up with my name on it and all this sort of stuff. And he knows I'm like, I said, because I've done it before and I've given him money. I said, "Don't book me those fucking flights that's got no check-in baggage and I've got to do all that shit later on." I said, "Just give me the whole fucking thing." Right.
Yeah.
I don't rock up to the airport and have to fucking argue with people about bags and then pay $190 for a case that I've got to put into something. I said, "Just get it from the start." So he sends me this email. I'll never delete it. It was the last flights. He booked the flights. So I was actually on the computer doing a Zoom and it beeped. And I looked up and he booked my flights. And it just said, and you got fucking checked in baggage too.
Oh, mate.
You
Fuck.
know? So
I'm glad you got to go down for that.
I'm grateful that I spent those days with him because they were my last man.
Yeah.
You know, even down to the fact that he paid for me to go into the lounge because he had lounge access and I didn't, and I didn't know. And I said, "Oh wow, I didn't know these tickets come with lounge access." Yes, it doesn't.
Oh shit.
So I don't know, man. I could talk forever.
Yeah.
I'm busted inside still.
Yeah. I think you're going to be,
Mm.
most of us will be for quite some time, but
Mm.
it's the good memories, mate. That's, you know,
Mm.
there's definitely some down moments, some sad moments too, but I'll, you know, I just try and think of there's always little things that pop in my head that I forget, you know, times and, you know, things like that. But
Yeah. I mean, mate, it's how the spur of the moment things occurred and things like that. Like, I mean, he was in the training facility and it was a Saturday morning. Okay. And I was doing a show and he just comes on the Friday like he always did. Right. And he goes, oh, by the way, Dan Djokovic is shooting me in the morning. I'm going, where? He goes, in the gym. I said, downstairs. He goes, yeah. I'm like, don't worry. Don't
okay.
worry. And I didn't like he's always in shape, but he wasn't doing a show or anything. And I was kind of like, well, what, you know, I didn't say it, but I'm like, well, what are you getting photos for? Like, I mean, you always look good, don't get me wrong, but you know, so that was it. And then I come back and it was the one show that I went up a weight category, Nick, because there was you know the story. We don't go talk about dickheads, but I didn't want to compete against one of my athletes. And so I went up and I did heavies, which you know, I could do heavies because I was always on the cusp, but I didn't like what I looked like at that weight. It wasn't sharp enough for my liking. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I was really carved and full, right? And it wasn't as sharp as what it needed to look, but it fucking looked round. So I come back into the gym and I'm going, hey, Jimmy, look at this. You know, and I'm hitting some shots for him. And he's like, fucking hell. He goes, could you fit any more shit in there? So then we started hitting poses, right? And what we didn't realize is Dan Djokovic was just sitting there taking photos of us being just wankers.
Yeah.
Right. And that became that iconic, massive, big picture that he's got at his house that he built for me as well, of me and him in the gym.
Yes.
And Stu on the side. It's actually on the back of the artwork for this radio show. And that photo of him, me and him side by side, I'm looking at it right now. It kind of just typifies everything. And also it shows you unprepared I was because I've got a pair of just the most ugly striped undies on in that photo. And he's like, no, just fucking leave it. I'm going, dude. Anyhow, it's all right for you. You got a pair of nice shorts on and shit and a nice watch. I'm here in a pair of fucking $5 striped undies. Because you know, it's like me, you get that close to a show, your undies don't fit no more.
Yeah, no, they become very saggy.
So yeah.
Oh shit!
I
know the exact picture you're looking at now too, mate. And it's a
yeah. Who would have thought? That's what. And then in the end, he put that picture on canvas, huge size, and then gave it to me for a birthday present. And I remember we were Pancake Manor in the. There you go. Pancake Manor in the city in Brisbane, the old church up on the top, you know, in Charlotte Street. Everyone's been to that one, haven't they? And Dan Djokovic gets out of the car with this giant sheet, and it's that frame under it, and I had no idea. And that's there you go. Anyhow, so I don't know, mate. Anything you'd like to add? I mean, I could talk about the man for fucking
yeah,
and you know, but
I think we've done well. I think we've I think it's all come from, like we said before, let's just let this flow naturally, which it has. It's going to be our one for us for a while, Chris. So but we keep each other, you know, and the other boys Everyone's dealing with this differently. Everyone has dealt with it differently over the last
Mm.
period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've just dealt with it one way, the whole way. And, you know, bless your cotton socks for sitting there on the phone and on speaker for 30 minutes while I was howling. And you're just like going, I'm still here, you know, it's okay. I'm here.
That was tough.
Mm.
That was a tough morning. But,
So,
right.
there we go.
I love that. Fuck.
Hey,
Yeah.
my boy.
Yeah.
If I could turn around and get it right, but the back says, what Jimmy do? And that's what fucking Jimmy would fucking do.
Yeah. Love it.
And you know what? Whatever Jimmy would do, he actually did. Mm.
Well said.
Mm.
Till next week.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mick. Well done, brother. Thank you.
No, same to you. Right, mate.